Hello, my name's Greg Harradine. I'm a composer, and on this episode of Good Art, Bad Art, I'll be discussing an album by the Lemon Twigs. Are you familiar with the band the Lemon Twigs? I feel like still so many people haven't come across them. Well, start to get acquainted with them now, because they're a fantastic band, and Everything Harmony is a truly fascinating album. In the next 8 minutes, we'll discuss it, I'll share my thoughts, and if you have an opinion, please let me know. So, yes, the Lemon Twigs. They are really two brothers, Brian and Michael D'Addario. They are multi-instrumentalists, singer-songwriters, and they grew up really with a huge musical education. Their father was a session musician and a recording artist, and they always had instruments around the house. Their father claims to not have sort of deliberately set out to teach them lots of instruments or anything like that, but they just were immersed in that life. So they played lots of instruments, they were in the theatre a lot, and they just have this huge creative urge. And what they create is massively inspired by the 60s and 70s, music of the 60s and 70s, which to my ears is just a breath of fresh air in our current musical climate in 2025. It really is. So their detractors sometimes claim that they're derivative of this music from the 60s or 70s. But I wouldn't say that's a bad thing necessarily. They're inspired by that era hugely. Anyway, Everything Harmony. What's this album all about? Well, it came out in 2023, and it's their fourth album, and it really is just a lovely collection of really well-crafted, meticulously crafted songs. And they go from the sort of quietest, just acoustic guitar and vocal sections to really full, rich, almost maximalist sections where there's so many layers of harmony and instruments. You know, you've got many layers of vocal harmony, 4-part harmony. You've obviously got your standard instruments, drums, guitar, keyboards, bass, but there's a string quartet on some of these songs, the Friction Quartet, playing beautifully, by the way. There's French horn, there's all sorts of things, and each part, this is the thing, each and every part is written with such care and attention. And the D'Addario brothers, they do their own arranging. So I don't believe they play violin or cello or viola, but I think it was Brian, or was it Michael? One of the two. One of them wrote the string parts for the Friction Quartet to play. One of them wrote the French horn parts. So they're in charge of everything, really. They even do the mixing. They do a lot of the recording and the mixing themselves as well. So anyway, yes, if you hadn't already realised, I think this is a great album. It's an example of good art, yeah? It's an example of very good art. What else can I say? Well, yes, I've said their influences are 60s and 70s. Two main ones, they would admit, the Beatles and the Beach Boys. There's also a lot of Simon and Garfunkel, I feel, as well, in there. Let's take a slightly deeper dive. That's an annoying phrase, isn't it? A deep dive. But anyway, let's take a deep dive into a couple of the songs. So, the title track, Everything Harmony, track 12 on the album, it's just, when I first heard it, I was just trying to figure out the time signature, right? Because it just kind of keeps going along, steady beats, boom, 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 boom. But I was just thinking about, well, how are the bars organized? How many beats are in a bar? Because there's something slightly off kilter and yet totally natural at the same time. That seems a contradiction, but the vocal melody and the vocal rhythm just carries you along. And actually, it's much simpler than I thought. It's basically in 3/4. It's basically 3 beats to a bar, but every now and then there's a bar of 4/4. Yeah, and it's these little touches that make the Lemon Twigs stand out above their contemporaries. It's this attention to detail, these slight little quirks that make their writing that bit more interesting than it might be. Yeah. And by the way, there's some really excellent string writing in the song Everything Harmony, performed, as I said, by the Friction Quartet. Really wonderful string writing. It inspires me as a composer, you know. Another great song, Any Time of Day. I love the key changes in this. I love the key changes. Again, I was trying to think what's going on. The funny thing with this is we're in the key of F for the verse. And then for the chorus, sometimes what happens, a common thing, well, not common, but if you do have a key change, you might go to a slightly higher key for the chorus to have a boost of energy, right? So if you're in F for the verse, maybe if you're going to change key, maybe you might go up a semitone to F sharp, or might go up to G for the chorus, possibly. But no, they go down. They go from F in the verse down to E for the chorus, which weirdly has a mellowing effect, even though the chorus is quite heartfelt. So that's unusual. F in the verse drops the semitone to E for the chorus. Then in the bridge, shifts to the key of A, before we end up in the glorious F sharp major for the final chorus, right? Which just, there we get we've got higher now, right? We were in F, now we're in F sharp. We have reached F sharp for the final chorus. Really some almost stratospherically high vocal harmonies there by the brothers. Really, their voices are excellent. You can hear perhaps the theatrical element that they went through as children, slightly in their voices. And that's no criticism. Really top quality singers. By the way, I discovered this band accidentally by listening to BBC Radio 6, which, is a revelation, actually. Both my wife and I love listening to that radio station. We've discovered lots of great new music that way. I heard the song The Worst Day of My Life. Every Day is the Worst Day of My Life on BBC Radio 6. And this one is just acoustic guitar vocals. I think 2 guitars and vocals and a bit of vocal harmony. Imagine writing a whole song where the only lyric in the entire song is the phrase, every day is the worst day of my life. Sounds pretty depressing. It is slightly depressing, but it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. And the simplicity of the arrangement. They don't put any drums in or anything, no, not even any strings in this one. And we've all felt it. Sometimes you have a succession of bad days. You think, well, I'm going to get out of this slump. But put on this record, okay? Put it on and just give it a few plays. And then on the 4th or 5th time, just really sit and listen to it. And you'll be astonished at the quality of the writing. Yeah, really fantastic. I give it a score of 90 out of 100. Yeah, pretty good. Hope you've enjoyed this. Yeah, please tune in next time on Good Art, Bad Art. Let me know what I should cover next. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.